So my first time to record with you was on the 6th of May 2002.
Mono, that's 24 years ago.
Yeah, 24 years ago. That's when we did Tambira Jehovah.
Tambira Jehovah. Tambira Jehovah.
I don't know if you noticed it, but you created a very new Zimbabwean sound that you can't find anywhere in the world.
What about you? Do you practice a lot? Because I'm always struck by how few mistakes you make when we record. You know, you just sort of you just play off the top of your head, but you don't misstep often at all.
Thank you for that. That one is a relic from the past. You know, during the days of the record labels, during the days of Grammar Records, if you made too many mistakes, they will chase you out of the studio.
Certain stories, secrets, and technicalities are never revealed by an artist unless they are speaking with another artist.
On the program Artist to Artist MonoCast, Mono Mukundu speaks with fellow artists about their careers, lives, triumphs, and struggles.
These discussions demystify what happens behind the scenes in the arts industry, offering important insights for those aspiring to join the industry.
Hey, hello, Mkoma Andrew.
Mkoma Clive, how are you?
I'm doing great. The last time I saw you is when you came to visit your mother. I think that's a month or two ago.
Yes, and we were trying to squeeze this interview in then, but
then
time
we
ran
failed.
away with us.
I think we tried a number of times and still failed until we decided to do it online.
There we go. And now we shall fail no more.
Yeah, thank God for technology.
I have to apologize for my Zambia coffee mug here. I do have a Zim one, but I just happened to pull the Zambia one this morning. I have lots of friends in Zambia also.
You need to be more patriotic.
Always. You know I'm a fierce Zimbabwean.
Yeah, you're a true Zimbabwean. So how is Cape Town today?
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. You know, Cape Town is it's one of the sort of big tourist destinations in the world and all of that. But these tourist places sometimes can be not as friendly as, I don't know. I miss home.
Yeah.
There's no place like Zim for the people.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know.
Yeah, I've been to Cape Town a number of times, and most of the times it was very cold.
Yeah. Well, we have all the weather happen. You know, every season happens in one day here, so we kind of get used to it.
You mean all this
and the other thing I would say
in one day? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, you can wake up and it's sunny, and then by 11 it's raining, and then it's freezing in the afternoon, and then back to sunny. You know, so it's just crazy. You get used to it.
Very weird weather. Okay, so let's get into our discussion. I think the first thing that I would love to know, and my viewers would love to know, is where you were born. Let's start with that.
There we go. I am a Kwekweite. I was born in Kwekwe in 1972.
I love that word, Kwekweite. That's a very...
Yes, exactly.
And only musicians can come up with such words.
You can be an Israelite, a Harariite, or a Kwekweite, and I choose the latter. But so I was born in Kwekwe Hospital, and had all my young schooling, my prep schooling was all in Kwekwe.
Yeah.
And then I moved up to Harare and Marondera for secondary schooling.
That's another cold place, Marondera.
I seem to be attracted to these cold places, hey. But I have to say, Marondera was way colder than Cape Town. So
in Marondera, did you go to Marondera High School?
No, I went to Peterhouse.
Oh, okay, because my wife went to Marondera High School, so I thought you were my wife.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I thought you were my wife's schoolmate.
Yes.
I wanted to investigate and find out if she ever dated you.
I'll be in trouble.
Yeah, because that was going to end our friendship.
I love it.
Yeah. So, when did you first find out that you have an inclination towards music?
Geesh, I mean, it's weird, these things. You know, I'm sure you've read that Malcolm Gladwell, what's it? It's I forget what the name of the book is called. Outliers, it's called. And about, 10,000 hours and, you're not an expert until you do 10,000 hours. And it's amazing because I kind of started really young. We used to go from the farm, we'd go into Kwekwe to do the shopping or whatever. And I mean, this must have been when I was 5 years. And the family friend that, of course, my parents needed to shop, so they needed to have someone babysit me. So they dropped me off at my Auntie Eve's house, as we called her, and she had a piano. And no one in her household played that piano. And I just thought this thing was just magic. And I just fiddled around on it. And I could figure out tunes. I would hear a melody, and then I would just be able to pluck it out on the keys.
Oh,
and I thought everyone could do that. I thought it was a normal thing. But I down my family line on my mother's side is a there's a line of pianists there.
Oh, seriously?
So it wasn't a surprise to my mom, but it was a surprise to everyone else. Yeah, because none of my siblings play, none of my cousins play. No, I'm the only musical one. And I'm sure you'll empathize with this comment. It was sort of to the disappointment of my family that I became a musician.
Yeah.
You know how it is. They all wanted me to be a doctor or an engineer or something.
Yeah, we all
because I was
faced
quite
that
good
problem.
at the books at school. But I always loved music, and that made me play a lot. I mean, so by the time I was 10, I probably had my 10,000 hours just plonking away at Auntie Eve's piano, which was out of tune, by the way. So,
and was she a pianist as well, Auntie Eve?
No one in her family was a piano player.
So how did you figure out
it's
chords?
extraordinary that they. I don't know. That's the weird thing. I definitely started with. I would just play the bass. I would play the bass note, and yes, I would only play on the white keys. Because I hadn't worked out what what all the black notes were for, and so I would start my melody in a certain place. Actually, that's a lie. There's a piece called Chopsticks. I don't know if it's a real piece, but kids always play it, and I learned that. And I can't really remember how I infused knowing what if you put more than one note together, you got harmony and chords and stuff. And then how it is at school, I learned to play certain songs that were easy on piano, and it makes you, you'll know this from Zim. You're not popular unless you play sport.
Yeah, it's true.
And I figured out that I could play these songs on the piano, and that would make me popular, which is every kid's dream at school, is to be popular. Gosh, if there's any young people listening, when you get older, you realize that that's the one thing that isn't important. But anyway, that's another podcast entirely.
It's a story for another
but at
day.
school, I was huge. I was hugely desperate for attention, and that's another thing that I think drives musicians. I think we want to be
seen.
We want to please. We want to be recognized. We want applause. We want people to go, "Oh my gosh, you're so good," or "That's such a beautiful song you've written," or "I loved your concert." We get addicted to that, unfortunately, but it is what makes us make music. So there's no getting away from it.
So when did you start figuring out the black keys and the other chords and so forth?
It's funny. What your listeners don't know is Mono always used to laugh at me because we did a show with Oliver once, and the keyboardist before me transposed his keyboard so that because he could only play in the black keys. This keyboardist,
most of them
and
they
of
play
course,
on F sharp.
F-sharp wizards, that's what you call them. And I didn't even know how to do an F-sharp scale till I was probably 20. But I mean, now of course I can play in all the keys. But again, I would struggle to know when that transition happened. But it is a funny thing that you get trapped. I was sort of trapped in playing in C and G because G only has one sharp. And forget any of the flat keys or the sharp keys. But, once I studied classical intermittently through my teens and then very seriously in my 20s and 30s, actually. So yeah, that once you start doing classical, it's like jazz. You have to be proficient in all the keys.
Yeah, those two genres, they really open up your mind.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. And another interesting question is, do you still practice a lot the same way you used to practice when you were young? I had a discussion with Jimmy Lulu when he came to Zim, and he said that he no longer has time to do practice as much as he used to do when he was still young.
Yeah.
When I started, I used to practice so many hours. But nowadays, 6 hours, 8 hours, it's enough. Because
yeah, it's true. And you notice this in musicians as they do get older, which I've got my Mondevu to prove that I'm older. You do practice less. I don't know if it's because you don't have time. I wonder. I mean, that's a whole philosophical reason. I have to be careful what I say now because I don't want to put young musicians off practicing. It's very important to practice. But the reality is you learn the older you get as a musician that it's not the flashy things that make beautiful music.
Very true.
Or great music. I don't want to say that non-beautiful music isn't great music, but I'm personally, I like to make beautiful music. So I'm not good at, heavy grooves to hip hop or thrash heavy metal and stuff. I'm more. My friends call me the Disney guy, which I think is a huge compliment. I don't mind having that label. But you realize that if I'm playing a Disney piece, it's easy. That's an easy piano piece to play. You can work out the chords. You can the fingering, the technical. It's easy.
Yeah.
But if I want to really impress people and do solos, I play in Mango Groove, and I actually ask them, please don't ask me to do solos because I don't practice for that, and it would just take too much time, and we don't gig that often, and it's as long as you got a few people in the band soloing. I mean, our band is full of soloists, so there's just no need to get the keyboardist to do it, but. Interestingly, I dusted off my old classical pieces the other day. I was like, I found this old book. I'm sort of working my way through it. It's the 100 greatest classical pieces or whatever. And I mean, they are phenomenal. They if you want to make beautiful music, you need to study composers of the past as a foundation for it. It's to me, it's an essential thing, and. So it helps me with my compositions, my productions and stuff. Anyway, I dusted off these things. And of course, my fingering and my articulation was just shocking. So, you work at it, you start slow, you put the metronome on. I had a whale of it. I really enjoyed it, actually. I would be staying up late at night practicing, much to the chagrin of my neighbors, I'm sure. But the weird thing is then we had a Mango Groove gig, like, a couple of weeks after that, while I was doing all this practicing. And I remember being at the gig thinking, why is this all feeling so easy under my hands? And you do notice when you've practiced how much easier it is to play.
Yeah, you
so
feel
what about you? Do you practice a lot? Because I'm always struck by how few mistakes you make when we record. You just sort of you just play off the top of your head, but you don't misstep often at all.
Thank you for that. That one is a relic from the past. During the days of the record labels, during the days of Grammar Records, if you made too many mistakes, they will chase you out of the studio. and they wouldn't do it kindly or diplomatically. They would literally kick you out. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, for you to be in good books with them, you have to learn your parts, number one. Number two, you have to think ahead so that you don't mess up as you play. So,
got you.
Since I started doing session work, I worked with so many groups. And because I was making less mistakes, I started getting more jobs. The producers started liking me. And I also started polishing my studio mentality or my studio psychology. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah.
So I think that's when
it's the sort of studio etiquette, I suppose one would call it. Hey,
yeah, that's when I started that habit of making less mistakes. So I remember those days they would want you to do one takes. So I remember the majority of the albums that we recorded that time, they were all one takes. You would just kick and go, all the songs from song number 1 to the last song. And one thing I've noticed that most musicians from the analog era have got that element as well.
Yes,
because every time
that's true.
I work with the likes of Oliver Mtukuz when he was still alive, especially when doing collaborations, they will come very prepared to the studio and they will make very few mistakes. But when you are working with the youngsters of today, even if you give him the music before, they don't listen to the music. And when they come in the studio, they look for papers to write the lyrics. And I wonder what happened to the time that we gave you. So I think most of my work ethic in the studio was created during the analog era.
Analog. That's interesting, eh? Yeah, because there's the ability to punch in now, which you could do in the analog era. But I mean, I remember that just being a nightmare because the engineer would forget to punch out in time, and then he would roll over some brilliant piece of art that I just created, and then you have to fix that, and then he would forget after that and overdub the piece following that. So punching in now, you can do as many takes as you like,
as many as you want.
Yeah,
and during the
it's crazy, isn't it?
During the early days of recording in Zimbabwe, they did not have they did not have many tracks. So I remember speaking to Zexi Manatsa's wife, and she was saying that she used to attend the recording sessions. If one of you made a mistake, you had to start again, all of you. Yeah. So I think that's when they picked that strictness of wanting you to to be polished and make less mistakes, even after there were more tracks. Because later on there were about 16 tracks, 24 tracks, and so forth. But still, they wanted you to do one takes only.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, sure, the old days was.
And then another interesting thing.
You had to be musically fit. Hey?
Yeah, another interesting thing that I had forgot to mention. At times you go to the studio after practicing. For example, let's say you practice 6 songs, and you polish them, and then you get to the studio. When you play the 6th song, the producer says, "I don't like that song. Give me another one." And then you don't have anything else. So you have to create something on the spot and pretend that...
This is making more sense now, because my mind usually boggles at how deep your resources are for coming up with stuff. You'll play one take, and then I'll go, okay, can you do more of this style on the chorus, or the same thing but different? And then you'll do something that is, so catchy and different, but you'll do the same thing on each chorus. So it's not like you were just taking a stab at it. You've sort of thought about it.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I think you're so strong at, is your mental approach to a session.
Thanks so much.
I think mine is way more throwing paint at the wall, and then I run away and come back and look at it, and I go, oh, I like that little piece, and I like that, and then I edit it together. It's funny how creative approaches evolve over time. B can be so different from one musician to another.
To the other. And one thing I like about you is you understand how I work. So
I do.
So it's very easy to work with you, because there's that method which I call the prophetic method, where you just play. I don't know the song. I've never heard the song, and then I just start shooting. And you are one person who is very comfortable with that method more than everybody else. And I also like the fact that you don't dictate too much.
Yes.
Because some of
I always feel I'm a bit of a control freak. That's nice to hear you say. Let's go with what he said.
Yeah, because when you work with some of these young producers these days, they want to give you every single note, and then you start asking yourself, why did you call me then?
Yeah.
You see?
I know.
But when I'm working with you, I know that I've got some level of freedom. And that's one thing that I used to like, even with the producers from the analog era. If they call you for something, they let you do what they called you for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the magic happens. It's where, I can immediately hear, and my piano teacher taught me she taught me this, but she taught me how to listen for it as well, is that I would be playing my piece, and then I would lose my place, but I'm just playing from muscle memory, trying to find where am I, and looking on the page, because my sight reading's terrible. That's another skill which I wish I had, but I was just too much of an ear player, so it was much more fun to play without looking. But I envy people who can just pick up a page and play what's on it. That must just be so liberating. But she would be able to tell me which bar I lost connection
just by listening.
And I just couldn't. Just by she could tell, and I've sort of tried to develop that skill, because I can hear when my musicians are stuck in they have their head in the chart, and they just play. They're not playing like you, for instance. You're a classic session player who I work with, who you're just totally serving the melody and the song, and I can hear you trying to create emotion because your fingers are on a fretboard or your hands are on a keyboard, and that's the sort of connection you have with this world of music, and no one really knows how to explain what music is. But one thing that really squashes the magic is when we suddenly start obsessing about, no, hang on, but that's a C sharp sus 4, and you didn't play the sus 4 there, and suddenly we're obsessing about the page instead of the magic
of the music. Yeah, that's true. And one thing that you reminded me of is when I spoke to Jimmy Lulu. You also said that he was very terrible with sight reading.
I can't read music. That's why I never play with a big band at school. There was a guitar player, a friend of mine, his name is Sly Scott. I'm sure you know him. He is one of the top. That guy, hear everything. He thinks like a machine, and he reads. When he'll finish the whole chart in 1 minute. When you give Jimmy note, I have to I need to change glasses. God, he can't give you everything. Yeah. You can be a mechanic, but maybe you become, how can I say, a painter. We can't all have the same talent. God will always give you something that is your specialty. So, me, when it comes to sight reading, I'll say I'm not good at it. And I'm talking honestly. I'm not. I can read, but for me to read, it will take me 1 hour, 10 minutes. No, man. But then the whole show is finished.
I was surprised. I didn't know that.
The worst thing I ever learned, which totally sort of sunk my sight reading, I want to learn sight reading ship, is that the guys from ABBA, I mean, who were a massive Swedish supergroup for the listeners who don't know, massive hits. If you heard one of their songs on the radio, you'd know. If you didn't know that they were ABBA, you'd certainly know the song.
Yeah.
But neither of them could read, and the girls who were the singers, they couldn't read music. They would just sing what they were told to sing, and I thought, well, if they can make nice music without having to read, what's the point of me putting hours and hours into learning this?
But I think the most important theory for a musician to know is your chord progression, how to read your bars, especially the chord numbering system. I'm noticing that it's one of the most popular music notations these days. And also maybe chord construction, how the harmony works and so forth. I was taught that by Isaac Chiro, and it really helped me, especially when I started working with you, because I noticed that you really wanted us to follow the map of the song.
Well, I'm a big arranger, I must say. People sometimes say to me, "Oh, I love your mixes," and I think mixing is probably the one thing that I'm least skilled at.
But
the thing
your
that I'm
mixes
most
are great.
But the reason for that is because I'm such a ferocious arranger.
Your arrangements are serious.
I arrange stuff, so I'm thinking about where. You'll know this from our sessions, but I'll say, can you play higher up the neck?
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of the.
Can
the
you
proper
be more
terms
melodic
I'm supposed to.
and so forth?
Yeah, or whatever. And the reason I'm saying high is because I know that the piano is playing in the mid, and the bass is playing low, and I'm trying to arrange stuff so it does this instead of just everyone clashing together, and it makes my mixes easier. And I'll tell you why I think this is that I would rather be on that side of the equation than being a well-respected mixing engineer but not getting the arrangement right. Is if you take a Michael Jackson, piece that's been arranged by Quincy Jones, or pick any song that's a famous song, you can easily reproduce that song. If you make your own stems and do it, and your mix of it won't be as important as you getting those parts right. And once you've got them right, no one's going to go, I like it, but the mix isn't as nice as Quincy Jones's. I don't know who mixed Quincy Jones's stuff. But you know what I mean? It's because people remember the arrangement. They remember the bass line, what the piano, what the drum fills were, what the guitarist was doing, what ad-libs the singer did, and where. So I obsess about those things. But all of that is good and well, but I wish I was a better mixing engineer as well. Because when I hear some of these overseas mixes come through, and I'm like, oh, how did they get it to sound so
But I think people
polished.
with such a mindset like yours, they always keep improving. But when others listen to your music, they love the mixes. So I think that's
kind of you to say.
That's a good trait to have, because you keep improving. Because
yes,
when I look
true.
at mixes, different mixes, I think we cannot say this one is bad or this one is bad. I think we can use the word different. This one is different. This one is slightly different. This one is unique, and so forth.
Yeah.
But a good mix is a good mix. If it sounds good, it's good.
Yes. Yeah. No, you're right. It's hard. One of the things that I find hard, quite a number of people send me their mixes to say, can you comment on this? Can you hear anything? And generally, if I do hear something that I feel is off, it'll usually be an EQ that I feel is quite harsh in my studio, in my car, when I listen to the song. But often I find it very difficult to comment on it, because I'm like, well, I'll be hearing lots of arrangement things that I'm going, I maybe would have done that different, but that's not what they're asking. They're wanting mixed comments.
Yeah.
So I get
It's
stuck
usually
of knowing what
difficult
to
to comment
say.
on what somebody else has done.
Yeah. And also you don't want to sort of, yuck on someone's yum. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah. So my first time to record with you was on the 6th of May, 2002.
Mono, that's 24 years ago.
Yeah, 24 years ago. That was after the first time we met at Mr. Bell's show.
Oh yeah.
You were playing.
What were you doing? Were you just watching, or were you playing it?
No, I was playing guitar and you were playing keyboards. So we were on the same.
Are you kidding? Where was the show?
Was it at Seven Arts? No, it was not Seven Arts. I don't remember.
No, you're right. It was at Seven Arts, and I think very few people came. I remember that running at a huge loss.
Yeah. The attendance was low.
Yes, and I got into huge trouble with that, because here the word church was the funder, and that I'd forgotten about that. Is that where we met?
Yeah, that's where we met.
And how did you know Mr. Bell?
That time I was doing session work for far too many people. So I don't remember how he knew my name, how he contacted me. I don't even know, but I was playing almost for everybody. So
well, that's because you were in the Black Spirits.
No, that was before. I joined the Black Spirits a year after, in 2003.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
And Tuku got to know me through the session work as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So
we
met at Mr. Bell's show, and then you invited me to your studio for the recording of celebration choir. I think that's when we did Tambira Jehovah.
Yes, it was Tambira would have been the first song we did.
Yeah, and then one
I remember being just absolutely blown away by your playing. It was just everything
so
to me.
much. But one thing that really, in fact, I saw or learned a number of things that really transformed my thinking, my passion, my future plans and everything. Was number one, I really loved the way you do your production. In fact, the whole production style where you start by creating the music on your own, do your own arrangements, and then call in session musicians later after the music was shaped already. And
that was that not a common way of doing it? And that
no,
I mean nowadays it's very common, but back then was it more?
It was my first time to work in such an environment because all along I was just working under the old system, the analog system where you come with a full band and play. So I was number one. I was surprised with the space. The space was very little, not much equipment because those days you didn't have much equipment. But when I listened to the sound, it was so clean. It was so well arranged. And I've got a lot to say about that session, in fact. So I'll try to limit so that my comments are orderly. But number one thing that really impressed me was the sound that you created. Because I don't know if you noticed it, but you created a very new Zimbabwean sound that you can't find anywhere in Zimbabwe, that you can't find anywhere in the world. So
isn't that bizarre though? Because I was just trying to copy the sound that was there. I mean, I loved Four Brothers. I loved Tuku music. I loved all of this. You know, Alec Macheso. I remember you sending me stuff to learn Alec Macheso bass lines.
Yeah.
I used to practice bass 4 hours a day. I would sit watching series on TV while practicing these lines, just going over and over and over and slowly speeding up the metronome. Gone are those days, hey?
Yeah. So how did you come up with that sound? Because you might think it was sort of like Four Brothers or Oliver Mtukudzi, like you mentioned, but it's very different. And I'm sure that's the reason why it was really accepted from the word go.
Yeah. It was more a virtue of limitations, Mono. I mean, the reason I was recording one at a time is because my sound card only had 2 inputs, and we didn't have it. We didn't have any budget to go and hire a studio. Well, there was the MFD studios. Do you remember those? What was the guy who ran it?
Tammy came later.
No, before Tammy, Rick Griebno.
Oh yeah.
What a lovely guy.
Yeah.
I hope he gets to watch this. Shout out to you, Rick. I don't know if he's doing music anymore.
Yeah.
But he, they had a lovely studio there, and you could record a band, and we did record a band there sometimes. But in the beginning of that celebration music, I was having, especially after that Mr. Bell show, we were in the red. So we had no budget to do anything. And of course, rightly so. The church, can't just be throwing money at musical projects willy-nilly. So we had to prove ourselves. And that was... I had to think, okay, how am I going to do this? So I just did it. I programmed the drums. I remember sometimes I would do the kick and the snare, and then my drummer would come in and just do the hi-hats and the cymbals. I mean, it was bonkers. Yeah, but just trying to get that sound. And if I could have gone to Gallo Studios or wherever all your sessions were and record, a full-on, Shona-style band doing tambira, I would have much rather have done that. But this is the crazy thing. I mean, not that we want to get political, but in the world of identity politics, and I know you have much to say on this, so we'll have to just have a little discussion about this. But there's the whole thing of cultural appropriation, which I fiercely disagree with.
Yeah.
And this is where we're blurring into that discussion here, because it was me as someone who didn't have a background in recording, black Shona musicians in Harare, who didn't have all of the the palette of instruments and background to that style. You could see modern people who are very pro identity politics going, oh, well, who's this white guy from Kwekwe stealing our music now? He's taken Mukundu's guitaring and stealing it for his church music. But I mean, and that's, people are, I'm all for free speech. They're quite entitled to have that opinion, but I think they're wrong. But I'm loving the fact that you're pointing out that we actually came up with a new style through those limitations.
Very different sound.
Yeah,
and
it endured for quite a few years. I mean, it's still my quest to make this style of music famous all around the world. In the same way that Afrobeats came out of Nigeria, I feel like that Zim has a style of music which is so infectious. It's just bonkers to me that everyone doesn't love it. There's some serious marketing that needs to be done.
Afrobeats was successful not just because of the talent. It was also some marketing involved as well.
Yeah.
Every genre of music.
Yeah.
I was looking at the history of Bob Marley and his other buddies, Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer. They did not reach his heights mainly because Bob Marley was backed by Island Records. That's a very big company.
Yeah.
Not saying that he was not talented, but he had a huge advantage because of Chris Blackwell and the Island Recording Company.
No, it's massive, and I mean this blurs into the discussion on what are the roles of record companies in today's sort of internet. 100,000 songs a day being released, or I don't know what the latest figure is. But is there a role for these big companies? I have a few young artists who I work with, and they're all waiting for their viral hit. But I mean, it's really unlikely that your song is going to be a viral hit.
Yeah, it's very unlikely.
And the muscle and just it's just general. It's capitalism 101. If you've got a good product, that's not enough.
Mm. Yeah, it's not enough.
Whether you're making widgets in a factory or music in a studio, it's not enough to have something that's fantastic that everyone needs to have or hear or see. You need to have the whole connection into the capitalist system.
Yeah, and also
it's not a perfect system, but it works.
Yeah, it works. And one thing that I miss about the record label days was the talent development. Because a lot of artists these
100%.
days are making a lot of mistakes. And sometimes when I point those out, people are mad at me. Because right now in Zimbabwe, we no longer have even a single record label. Because all we have is studios, no record label. Because after the economic downturn, and then digitalization, and then the old companies did not evolve into the digitalization phase, or they tried to evolve much later and failed. So as a result, we don't have any record label. So there is a lot of mistakes that youngsters are making. And one of them that really freaks me out is you find an artist with an album. First song is a reggae song. Second song is a sungura song. Third song is a soft rock song. Fourth song is an amapiano song. No identity.
It's too eclectic,
And no identity. There's one question that I always ask them. I say, give me one international icon who played everything.
Yeah.
There's not even one. Because every icon has got 100%. An identity.
And to me, it's part of your artwork as well. When you say to someone, "What kind of music do you like?"
Exactly.
And they go, "Oh, I like everything." I'm like, I don't know about that. Either they don't have any taste, or they just haven't thought about it enough. But I think we all have. It's important to have things that you love and things that you hate.
Exactly.
I think it's just part of being human.
Yeah, but the other time I was doing a masterclass at Music Crossroads, so I was speaking to music promoters from Germany, and he was saying that one important thing for every artist is to have a category, a genre. Because he was saying there are no promoters who promote everything. There are promoters for jazz, there are promoters for reggae, there are promoters for this genre. So you can't come to them and say, I play everything. They need to know which category you fit in.
I mean, tragically, the most famous anecdote of this is poor old The Weeknd. what's his real name again? He's now changed back to his proper name. But I mean, he had, I think was it Shining Lights was the most downloaded or most streamed song of 2020. I forget the year. And he didn't win he didn't even get a nomination for a Grammy. And it turned out that they didn't know what category to put him into. So that's and I would have thought he's pop. I don't understand how they couldn't categorize The Weeknd. It's obvious.
Yeah.
There you have it. It's important.
It's really frustrating because you notice that these guys are very talented, but they don't know that having a sound is part of the strategy, because you really need a strategy in the music industry. Otherwise, you don't go anywhere.
I think these music game shows, what do you call them, Idols and X Factor, I think that's proved to us that talent isn't enough.
Yeah.
There are, my friend, he's a guitarist I work with. You met him, Mike Bester. I remember we had a jam session.
Oh, the one who used to play for Mango Grooves.
Yes, exactly.
He came to one of our sessions.
He's such a great talent. But he always used to say, if you go to New York, you can just go to any street corner and the saxophonist or the musician who will be busking there will be better than, any of our top people in South Africa.
I've seen it
and
myself.
I was like, jeepers, that's quite a claim. But yeah, it proves that talent isn't enough. It's the ideas.
Mm-hmm. It's the strategy. In response to what you said about Mike, you said his name is Mark or Mike?
Michael Bester,
Yeah. If you go, I'm sure you've gone to the States or to the UK and visit the music shops where they have warehouses full of
yes,
guitars. Yeah. You always meet 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 guitarists testing instruments, and they'll be playing
they'll be shredding. Yes,
they'll be shredding, but they are absolutely unknown. And then you have someone like Carlos Santana. He doesn't play much. Of course, he's a good guitarist, but he's not in the same level as Eddie Van Allen or Nuno Bettencourt or all those other guys. But he's huge. Why is he big? He's got a distinct sound that's different. Because I remember one time you were saying, if I play one note, just one note, you must know that it's me.
Yes.
That's powerful.
And there's very few guitarists who you could say that about, eh?
Yeah, there's very few. And it's very difficult for you to make it if you don't have that distinction.
Okay, here's a question for you.
Mm.
What do you think it is about your playing that makes me listen to a track and go, that's Clive Mukundu playing?
Number one, the Mbira influence, the popcorn Mbira influence.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's the genre that I started with. So it is stuck with me. So I think that one is one area you can identify that's mono. I don't know if
your tone. You also I'd say that, but you also have a very clear tone. Your tone sings more than other guys that I've worked with.
Sure. Thanks so much. What do you mean by what do you mean by sings more?
Well, I remember when you and Mike got together at our Joburg studios, and you guys were, typical guitarists. Everyone else disappears as soon as guitarists are in a room. But he was showing you how to get a better tone, especially for rock. He's very good, but he has the best guitars and an amazing pedal and stuff. But the irony is that when he tries to play your stuff, his tone doesn't suit the style, whereas it's a very clear, melodic. It's hard. I'm terrible at using words to explain. I just know what I like. That's why I always return to the same players, because I'm like, I get frustrated with new guys and I can't explain to them. So then I say, okay, I'm just going to go back to my usual crew.
Okay, to factory settings.
Yeah, factory settings.
But you described my playing in a very nice way that I even copied when I give guitar lectures. Because he said that when you are playing, it's like someone playing percussion. That's what he described it.
Yes, 100%.
And I really loved that description.
Yeah, it's you're one of a kind, Mono.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now let's get back to your discussion. Remember, I'm the one interviewing you.
Taking over again. it's the Kwekweite in me.
Yeah. You Kwekwe guys, I know you because my father was based in Kwekwe for some time. So,
Oh, yes?
Yeah. So I used to visit Kwekwe a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as a music producer, when did you start getting into music production? What drove you into music production?
It's funny. I was thinking. I heard a. Do you remember a song called "Words"? I can't remember who it was by. Words don't come easy to me. How can I say? Who's that by? Anyway,
Yeah,
someone will tell us in the
but
comments.
it's an old song from the 80s.
Oh, yeah, the 80s. But I used to take. That was one of the songs that I reproduced. You know, I had a little 4-track recorder, tape, and I would record. Drums, just, playing drums on the keyboard. It was one of these Casios which had drum beats of its own. And then I'd record that on track 1. Then I would record a bass thing on track 2. Then I would record piano on track 3 and 4 so that it was stereo. Then I would bounce that all down onto a stereo on another machine. And then copy those back onto one and 2,
track, and then try and use
3 and 4. So now I had 6 tracks, and I would do that as many times as I could. You can imagine the quality. There was more hiss than anything else, but it was a start. And what got me thinking about is hearing the song "Words." I was like, man, if only I could find those tapes of songs that I did, I'm sure I would be appalled at how awful they are.
Which year was that?
But it was this would have been 83, 84. I was like 12 years old.
Okay.
But it gave me a love of music. And I remember thinking back then, I want to do this with my life. But, our parents try and steer us as best they know how.
But, sorry to cut you. I'm surprised that your parents had that mindset as well. Because I thought it was just amongst black people. Because since your parents are white, I'm surprised that they also didn't want you to get into music.
I think it's a, it's a certainty thing, Mono. So, and I'm sure actually people like Mozart and Michael Jackson and co. They were such child prodigies. Their parents were like, how can we make money out of this? But the majority of kids, I'm sure you were the same as a child musician. You're okay, but there's lots of kids who are better, or they're good, and it's just a very uncertain future. And as a parent, you want a certain future for So even like I'm always amazed that parents encourage their kids to study the humanities at varsity, because that doesn't guarantee. If I had kids, I would say to them, become a doctor, an engineer, a surgeon, something that's actually going to be useful, because then you'll always be able to provide for your family. So I understand it, and I think honestly, I think it's across cultures. I think, I know you think Black Zimbabwean parents are bad, but you should see the Asians. I think they far worse.
Serious.
If you're an Indian person and you decide to do music, I think your family has a meltdown, because it's it's that whole legacy thing. It's just being able to provide with music is tough, and it feels like over the years it gets tougher and tougher. But I'm sure every generation says that. Yeah.
Okay, so you were talking about your history.
I forget what the question was. Yeah,
we were talking about your journey into music production from where.
Music production. Yeah. So I did that, and then I had that 4-track recorder, and then I got a little digital thing, which could do 16 tracks or whatever of MIDI, and that really opened. Like, wow, now I can record infinite amount of times using MIDI, and it was amazing. And then, the computer revolution, Steve Jobs mixed things up, and we got sort of DAWs, digital audio workstations, and I got Cakewalk.
Which year was that?
It was called back then. Oh, Mono, you're making me work hard now. This would have been in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Like, yeah.
So Cakewalk was one of the first music softwares, is it?
Yeah.
Because it was very popular.
And it was, things haven't changed that much. If you could become proficient in that, and I mean, you know, by 2000, Pro Tools was the big thing, and I bought that and I got proficient on that. I mean, I would love to do an audit of the money that you and I have spent on software and plugins and blinking hardware.
But the moment I started working with you, I think you were using Logic.
Yes, I was using Logic. So after 2000, I switched to Mac. And of course, one of the flagships for Apple is their Logic and Final Cut Pro for audio and video, respectively. And Logic was just a dream. I was like, oh, this is so much better. And the reverbs were nice. And the compressors I thought were great. It's weird. I don't use... Actually, I still use... There's a Logic reverb, hall reverb that I still use. But most of them I've squandered my savings buying loads of plugins that I think are going to make me, a successful producer. We're all chasing this elixir, aren't we? Like, I just need that one more thing that's going to make me sound like my dreams.
Someone was saying that it can be a disadvantage to have so many options, because you end up.
It's true, but it's true, but. I don't suffer from overchoice. So, you know, if I switch on Netflix and something catches my eye, I just watch it. I'm not one of these persons who keeps going, well, this is okay, but is there something better? So I don't buy lots of plugins anymore, but I used to. And I'm glad I did, because now, every now and again, I'll go, okay, this vocal's not working for me. Let me try using the UAD thing. They've got this new XUAD, which I don't even remember buying, and I'm seeing it on my machine now. So I was like, let me try these. And the Teletronics whatever compressor, I'm sorry if there's listeners that I'm saying this wrong. I sound like I'm making it up. I'm very bad with all the terms, but I think it's called that. And I just went there and used the vocal medium compression preset. And I was like, boom! It's fixed my vocal. Now that's become my favorite. I use that compressor on everything because I'm like, and I'll go, it's part of what you were referring to earlier of, developing and evolving.
Yeah.
As, you got to be curious. You want to be able to try new things and not get too stuck.
Yeah, true.
In your old habits.
So when did you start going professional with production?
So that would have been, That's a good question, Mono, because I knew deep inside that I was going to end up doing this. I wouldn't have told my parents that, but I was like, I'm going to make this happen. So I thought, let me get my qualification. I qualified as an electronic engineer. I went to work for IBM after graduating, and then only after a couple of years with IBM, I got headhunted by a company. We were based in Eastgate, in Harare there, just opposite Greatermans, and they were headhunting, looking for someone. They were just looking for fresh young graduates, and I went for the interview, and they said, well, why don't you go for the commodity trading thing? And I was like, I'm not a commodity trader, I'm an engineer, and I want to be a musician. What possible thing? And they were like, well, commodity trading, a big aspect of it is law, contract law. And I was like, that's going to be useful in the music business. So I went for it, and I did about 5 or 6 years with them. Cargill was the company. And then that took me to 2000, and that's when I resigned from there. And over that period, I'd been buying, an amp here, a microphone there, studio speakers, a keyboard, building up my... I mean, you remember, I couldn't even play the guitar, but I had a nice acoustic guitar. I had instruments just so that my musicians could come and play, because sometimes the Zimbabwean musicians couldn't afford a nice sounding instrument.
Yeah,
and to me that's key.
That's very true. Every time I tell that, I talk about that to guys from other countries, they are surprised that somebody can be a professional musician but don't even own an instrument.
Yeah, it's very common.
Yeah, it's very common in Zimbabwe.
So I was building up. So by 2000, I think I had enough to sort of start a studio, and that's what I did. I contracted myself to Hear the Word Church as to help run their music department and do studio work. If they needed to record, they were sort of my main client, but I had other clients and doing jingles and things like that as well. Yeah, so I guess 2000 would have to be the start. And then in 2002, I worked with this Zimbabwean guitarist called Clive Mukundu, and my world exploded.
That was an interesting period because we did a lot of work with Kudzai Sevenzo, Bonnie Dishell.
Oh, yes.
Did I work on anything by Henry Long? I think I did.
I'm sure you did, yeah. Yeah. He was actually asking me for that album the other day. We're going to be doing a revamp of our Zimbabwe. It's the 25th anniversary of that
lovely
song.
Another interesting topic, Andrew.
Yes.
There's a song that you did with Bonnie Dishell.
Yes.
Featuring Oliver Mtukudzi. And
Which one was that?
With You, With Me.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
With you, with me, we can share a dream.
And then you called me another day and you said you wanted me to put guitar. I thought I was going to play lead guitar and you said no, play acoustic guitar the same way Oliver Mtukudzi plays. And I was saying, but I thought Oliver played. I don't know how you diplomatically explained it, but when I told Oliver that time that I was at Andrew's studio and I played guitar, and he said, I couldn't play the guitar. Your friend is too strict with these chord progressions. He's too strict. I thought maybe I would even fail to enter heaven because I failed to play that song. So I ended up not playing. That's what he said. What really happened on that day?
I can't remember that, but he's a fine one to talk about being strict. Jeepers, he was hard on you guys, eh? I remember you telling me how you weren't allowed, your solos had to be the same as the solo on the album.
I had a huge problem with that because I don't know what philosophy he lived by when it comes to music, because I had a really tough time with him when it comes to certain principles. Because number one, he wanted you to play exactly the same solo on every song.
Yeah.
And I know that internationally, it's actually sort of a crime for you to play the same solo twice. So
okay.
I was surprised by that. Number two, I noticed that he only loved the pentatonic scale.
Yes, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah,
That was funny.
anything you play as long as it's along the pentatonic scale, yeah, okay. If you go beyond the pentatonic scale, you are in trouble. And then number three, you wanted your solos to be very simple. So there's this one time we were in Canada. It was a huge festival filled with a lot of people. And then he introduced me, ladies and gentlemen, on guitar, Clive Mukundu. And then I remember that song I was supposed to play a certain very slow pentatonic scale. And I said, you know what? Today, if he's going to shout at me, he's going to shout at me.
Let me flex my muscles.
Yeah, I'm not going to play that pentatonic scale anymore. So I went in front and then played my skills, and the crowd applauded. Then I thought I was going to get in trouble. He didn't say anything much. Then when we came back to Zimbabwe, we played the song again, and then I reverted back to the original pentatonic solo.
Yes.
And then he said, no. I want that solo that you did in Canada.
There we go. You see now.
So I ended up with two songs that I could really experiment the way
that
I
you
wanted.
could release.
Yeah.
It's tricky. I mean, there's a part of me that agrees with the branding side of things. You know, when people know a song from we have this in Mango Groove a lot. Like all the solos in Mango Groove, they're part of the song. It's like the melody of the song. The solos have become so iconic. And so John, he's our equivalent of Oliver, and he's like, no, you need to play the solos. This is for the brass guys. You need to play the solo and the penny whistle. You need to play the solos that are on the album because that's what the audience wants to hear. So I think it definitely does that kind of philosophy doesn't work in jazz because in jazz the whole point of it is you want to hear someone connecting live and creating something in the moment. That's part of the dance and the audience artists participation that goes on. But I'm probably in Oliver's camp. I like things to be.
Okay.
As he was saying to you.
The problem that we had was he didn't like my semi guitar because it's sort of like a copy of a Gibson. So the tone is a bit dark. So for me, it was the perfect guitar for Mbira guitar because it gives you that thick tone.
I love that.
But he didn't want it. He loved the Stratocaster sound. So when we went to the States, he sort of forced me to buy. I bought a Godini. It's a copy of a Stratocaster. So the sound was a bit bright. I was not used to the brightness. I was not used to the adjustment because I just bought it and then I had to play it straight on the gig. So it took me a long time to be able to properly adjust the tone and get a good tone because I was used to my Gibson type. But remember, you haven't answered that question. I wanted to know what really happened because Oliver sounded like you had an argument or something. I don't know what happened.
Do you know what I got a? It felt like he didn't want to sort of be involved in the. It was weird.
He says that you gave him a chord chart and he wasn't well versed with with chords.
Now, I can't remember the specifics. I remember being surprised at the vocal because I think he didn't even record the vocal at my studio. He just recorded it and sent it. I might be mixing this up with... No, maybe I'm mixing it up with Pole Pole, which was the one on Kutsi's album. That's the one that he just sent me.
Yeah, but
maybe that explains why.
With
Pole
me,
Pole was after that.
Studio.
He did it at my studio.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't remember him being frustrated, but I think like you, I just let him play. And then maybe we just said, we'll let Mono do it. But I hope he wasn't offended.
No, he wasn't, but he was just laughing, saying, your friend is very strict with these chord charts. Because you gave him a chord chart.
It's that arrangement in me coming at that arrangement.
Yeah, and he says, one of the statements that I remember is that... you were saying, I told him, can I play a relative of this? And he said, no, I want it exactly as it is written on the paper.
I said that to him. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is funny though. I mean, I have this a lot with especially with guitarists actually. Well, I suppose because I play the keys, so it would only be guitarists I'm working with. But when you guys see a oh, hang on, Mon, I'm just checking we'll start that question again. Okay, my screensaver went on. I just wanted to make sure the audio is still recording. Where was I? You can edit that out.
Yeah, what I did.
When I have chord charts with a minor, so say you're in the key of G and you go G, E minor, C, D. Say something simple. And guitarists will often play A minor seventh.
Okay.
And I get quite fussy about like that. I'm like, if I put the seventh, there's a reason I'm wanting that color. It changes the color. Hue in my mind, it's like massive difference. And I know, I always ask when people are obsessing about stuff, would our mothers notice the difference? And if they listen to this mix, which is horrible, and this mix, which is amazing. And I'm like, would our mothers notice the difference? And of course, the answer is no. But, I probably am obsessing about things like whether it should be a pure A minor or A minor seventh.
Yeah.
But I think it's just part of what that's my arrangement ethic or style. To obsess about those things. I'm way less articulate in my runs and things like that. So you won't hear, like when I listen to some of these Zimbabwean gospel productions, they're so involved and intricate. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to think of that stuff. The intros. Have you listened to the intro of any of these gospel groups? And it's like something off Broadway or I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it comes from the tradition in the sort of African American gospel tradition, where you get these really intricate
intros.
Yeah, it's just key change. The song's changed key 3 times before we've even sung the first note. But it's great. I always listen to stuff and I go, I wish I could do that. But I use my pure minor instead. Much easier.
Yeah. Okay, from 2023 to present, we've had more than 15 music producers who have left the country. And all of them, they're not going to do music production in the countries they relocated to. Some went to the UK, they're now doing care work. Some went to the States. Some of them are driving trucks. Some of them are doing any job they can get their hands on. And I managed to speak to some of them. One of them is Munya Viali. He used to produce a lot of songs for Ja Praiser. And he came back, I think, last year, and I sat down with him, and he said that I couldn't make ends meet in Zimbabwe with music production. So I have kids. The kids had to go to school, and the money is not very little. Things are just not working. Yeah. So
that's very sad.
Was that one of the reasons you left Zimbabwe as well?
Definitely. I think I'd hit a ceiling in Zim. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that. I mean, bear in mind this was in 2007.
Yeah.
So there were other complex factors surrounding my relationship with the church that I was involved with at the time. But income was tricky, and I think I just felt there was a friend of mine, Colin Vincent, who I was, he was an old school friend that we'd stayed close all these years, and he had come back from the UK. He had tried to start a music company in the UK, and he'd now moved back to Johannesburg. He's like, come down and join me. We'll start what we were going to call monkey business. Because I had guerrilla music, as you know, in Zim, and he had orangutan music that he tried to start in the UK. So we were going to start monkey business in South Africa, which I thought was a fabulous name. But unfortunately, the name had been taken on the website, and I think it was a children's creche or what are the like a daycare. Anyway, so we said, well, it's either got to be gorilla or orangutan. We preferred orangutan. So we started orangutan music in Joburg. That would have been the main reason for me going down there, is that the prospects for doing commercial jingles was massive. So Colin was very good at marketing. I'm so aware that musicians, it feels like almost the better you are as a musician or producer, the worse you're going to be at connecting yourself to the world.
Why is it like that?
To the capital world. I don't know. Some of it's our self-deprecation. Unless you're American, when people go, oh, you're the best guitarist I've ever met, and you'll go, no, there's much better. Because like people say that to me, oh, I love your production, or I love your piano playing. And I'm like, compared to the people that I idolize, I can't even play the piano. And the same with producers. You know what I mean? It's like, so that kind of, that can spill into being unhealthy. People say, well, it keeps you humble. Yeah, but it can also just start a negative self-talk.
I was reading this book. It's an audio book. It must be called Be Delusional or something. And what the book was saying,
I like that. It's a good title.
What the book was saying that is, if you notice people who really make it in the world, most of them are delusional. Yeah, because they say that the book was saying, when you act like a lion, the sheep won't ask if you are pretending. They just step aside.
Yes.
Yeah. And the book was also saying that Alexander the Great believed that he was the son of Zeus, which is a delusion. That's why he was so bold and became known as Alexander the Great. And Napoleon called himself an emperor before he had an empire.
Yes.
And one line that I really liked.
It's the same with Steve Jobs.
Exactly.
All these people.
One line that I really liked is, caution destroys dreams more than failure. Because at times you are too cautious.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I'm going to write that one down.
The book has got a lot of interesting quotable quotes. The other one said, power is never about being right. It's about being sure. Certainty scares people. It commands respect even when it's wrong.
Yeah.
So it
100%.
It works well with what you are saying, that at times we are too humble or we are too soft, and then it affects our work. And I think that's very true.
So meeting up with Colin, I think it turned out to be a very profitable union, because he was able to go into these corporate spaces and go, I've got the best producer you've ever heard of. You know, we can do advertising music for you that's going to totally set your brand apart, and all of these kinds of things. And I mean, very kindly, he actually believes that. He's the delusional one. But he's very charming, and this is something that I don't always say. But Colin he looks a bit like Richard Gere, and a lot of the advertising agencies in Johannesburg were run by sort of 40-something, 50-something female executives, and they just thought Colin was charming he's such a gentleman. They loved him.
Okay.
And it's true, because we never got any work with agencies that were run by men. They thought he was, they thought he was irritating. So again, you've just got to keep plugging and see what works. But we had from 2009 basically to 2017, we were the new kids on the block. And we did fantastically well. I'm so glad I moved there. And now, we're no longer the new kids on the block, and business is very quiet. But I've gone back to doing very similar pace of work that I used to do when I lived in Zim, and which suits me, because it's quieter, and the fees obviously less. The corporate world is, that's where the money is.
Yeah, but in Zimbabwe,
back to your question, I think the producers like this guy you're talking about, and all of these guys who've left, I think it's a lot of I don't want to use the term failure, but the inability to connect with business people, and I don't, those would be for various reasons. Sometimes it's just chance. You don't bump into someone who says, "Hey, I want to form a partnership. I'm going to be the marketing brains. You be the musical genius." It's a risk doing that. You don't know if they're going to. How many stories have you heard where that person comes in and then they take all your money?
Yeah, it happens a lot. It happens a lot.
Do you know what I mean?
It's like someone running your social media platforms and he steals the page.
Yes, exactly. A very close friend of mine, him and a partner bought a concession of a gold mine in Mpumalanga, and it's just turned out this guy's run off with like 12 million rand.
Eish.
I'm just like, can you imagine? So it is, partnering in business is tough, but I think if you don't partner, you are much more likely to run into hardships with trying to be visible in the marketplace. So yeah, and also I think when you talked about this is so hard for me to blow my own trumpet. This is what we're talking about, self-deprecation. But when you say from those Tambira days, I created a sound that was totally new. That, without knowing it, I stumbled across something that was very profitable for me, because I would get a lot of cold calls from people going, Janet Manyor is one of them. She said she heard me when she was, this is a terrible story. Janet's going to be rubbing her hands with glee hearing me admit this. But she called me. Remember, we used to have Hear the Music.
Yeah.
That would be in the days when you and I were recording. So she called me when I was, I started Hear the Music, and I clearly thought I was quite big stuff. And she must have been like 14, and she said, she wants to record a song with me. And I was like, oh, sweetie, let me put you in touch with some people who can help you.
Serious?
And she says I was quite patronizing, but she said to her mom, I'm going to work with that guy one day. But, then she called me out of the blue in 2017 with the song her and Tremia had written. And I was like, sure, but the reason she called me is probably ties back to what you're saying. I came up with a sound without knowing it. Because of my limitations, I came up with something that was fresh, which meant people couldn't find any other producer if they wanted to sound like that. And my guess is a lot of the guys that are on your list who have left the country to go and produce elsewhere.
No, they're not producing.
They didn't have that. No, but even when they were producing, were they necessarily producing something that no one else could do?
Oh, I see your point.
Do you know what I mean? It's that stickiness. Like, I think people who come to you to have their songs produced, they're looking for a specific sound.
Yeah.
And they know that mono is the best at getting that sound. It's the same with me. I don't get any hip-hop people coming to me going,
Yeah, same with
you're
me.
so badass. Can you produce my hip-hop song? And if they did, I would actually run a mile. I would just tell, I'd give them a phone number of someone who actually can make that kind of music.
I do
without
that.
embarrassing
I do that as well.
Yeah. No, it's weird. Hip hop is a very different kind of production. I'm like all of these styles. I don't like to listen to it, but I'm a huge admirer of it because it feels there's no rules. They can use any sound, but they somehow make it work. Like sounds that you would hear, you'd go, that can never be musical.
Yeah.
A hip hop producer will make it musical.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very unique. And then there's one thing that I also wanted to ask you about music composition, because I know that you used to run music composition classes at
I did, yes.
Celebration Center.
Songwriting 101 it used to be called.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm asking is that there's one time that I attended a songwriting, a composition masterclass at a certain college. I won't mention. And then the guy who was teaching was too technical, too bookish, too classical music,
Yeah.
No one understood anything. So I just wanted to get a basic, over-summarized structure of how you used to conduct your own classes.
It was a 6-part series, so it was done over 6 weeks with lots of homework. And of course, it was really, when I looked at it the other day, I was like, I sort of dusted it off. It was funny how prolific I was in terms of generating educational tools. I had quite a passion for it back. I seem to have lost that now.
Oh.
But I was looking over it, and it was more about the lyrics, how to create. There wasn't really anything about melody.
Oh, it wasn't
And I would go online. Well, I mean, the class, the homework was to write songs with a melody, and then we would all comment and we would, but I can imagine that if you went to a songwriting class that was trying to talk about what is a strong melody, that could get into the sort of technical weeds very quickly. Whereas lyrically, there's much more of an age-old tradition of what makes, there's lots of, you can analyze lyrics from loads of different songs and pick them apart and see what makes them strong and what makes them weak. I think lyrics are the thing that creates the images in our minds. And the stronger the image, then the stronger the hook. And of course, the prosody. My whole classes were sort of it would all come to a head with the word prosody, which is the marriage of a melody with mouth sounds. And if you can get those mouth sounds to be something deep, I remember you always commenting that Tuku's songs are so good because his shona it's deep shona.
Yeah, very deep.
He paints such good. He tells such deep stories, and I think that's what a lot of lyricists lack these days is their vocabulary for telling stories doesn't always hit the mark. And I become more and more unsure of myself as a writer. The only thing I know as a writer is I'll obsess over something and I just know when it's done. I'll keep changing things and going, no, that's not right. But I know there's a feeling that I have when I know this is the right melody for the right lyrics and it's telling the right story and all of those little boxes tick. But I often wonder, like, did Adele, the best thing to do to learn songwriting is just to write songs. Did Adele learn to write such good songs because she went to a music college in London? Or was she just just wrote songs, and she's got a good voice, and she can.
And she had a
she's
heartbreak.
conversation. She doesn't. It doesn't feel like she overthinks it. She just writes.
And remember, she had a heartbreak.
Yeah,
Those songs were
that's a
inspired
huge
by
thing.
heartbreaks, and the heartbreaks are a very good way to start writing a song.
Yeah, or heart. What's the opposite of a heartbreak? Like when you fall in love.
Yeah.
Writing about those feelings, or when you equally have heartbreak, or when you have loss, or I always, whenever I have a strong emotion, I wrote a song for Janet the other day. She had a situation happen, and we all, I think with artists, actually you probably don't live with this because you're so good, but this imposter syndrome thing is
We all have it.
it's except Mono's the king. But you're always worried that you're not good enough. and
Yeah, it
people
happens to all of us.
People are saying I'm a good producer, but behind my backs they think I'm rubbish, and it's like a shadow that you live with.
Yeah, that's
And which is why I like what you were referring to earlier. I love that delusional.
Yeah. You have
What was
to
the
be
title of the book? I love it.
I'll check and I'll send
Yeah.
it to you. But it's an
send it to
audio
me,
book.
yeah.
I'll also send you the link.
Yeah, send me the link. That'll be even better.
Because it's an audio book.
So I wrote this. I was so impacted by what Janet went through this specific weekend, and she was very upset about it, and she was doubting herself, and it. The point of my story is it created a very strong emotion in me, and I thought I need to use this, and I sat down at the piano in my dining room. And it came very quickly because the emotions were clear.
Yeah.
So I think I totally agree with you. You want to go off whatever it is, be it heartbreak, or any strong
It's
feeling.
good inspiration for a good song.
Yeah.
Then about music
It's
education.
why I find writing happy songs so hard.
Yeah, that's very true. Happy songs are difficult. And then talking about music education, you talked about Adele and you talked about a music school. Did you go to UCT?
Yeah, not for music. I studied engineering at UCT, but while I was at UCT, I studied with a guy called Richard Schilder, who's one of these jazz cats.
In the same class?
Sorry?
He was your classmate or he was your lecturer?
No. He was just a musician. Actually, his brother was Abdullah Ibrahim. His brother changed his name. Abdullah Ibrahim's original name was
Jola
Schilder,
Ibrahim,
I think.
the Manningbeg guy.
Something like that. I might be blurring the lines here, so someone check me in the comments. But he was a fabulous Richard Schilder, the brother. I mean, he wasn't as good, but I thought he was incredible. And all of these jazz chords I'd never heard, and he taught me all the jazz standards and things like that. Just private lessons. This was in my afternoons and weekends.
Or after school.
So that was my main education into the world of jazz. And I'd sort of been a failed classical student up until now because I hated classical. I hated having to read music. And then this is why when I went to UCT, I discovered jazz. I was like, this is what I want to do.
Okay, so
but then
that was
I realized
your
that
first time to play jazz.
I wasn't. Yes, my first time to play jazz. I didn't even know what a seventh was until then.
Serious?
I'm exaggerating, but I was very bad at chords. Like, I didn't have a good vocabulary. But I suddenly realized that there was this whole world out there. I wasn't particularly good at jazz. I knew this wasn't my path, but I wanted all of the tools.
I also met
then when
Makalisa at your place, Teach Makalisa.
Yeah, he's a classic case of his trajectory was what I wished had happened to me, but it would have made me into a different musician and producer. So I'm thankful for my trajectory. But he studied classical to grade 8 at school, and then he went to UCT Jazz School. But
he studied up to grade 8.
Yeah. Oh no, he's the proper deal, and he's probably the finest pianist to come out of Zim, I think. In terms of, I know we've got Paul Rennan and these guys, and Manuel Bagora, and these classical guys who are geniuses.
And there was another guy called Chris Chabuka.
In terms of all round.
Have you ever met Chris Chabuka?
No.
He was another old school pianist who was very good, but I never met him. I just heard one audio. In fact, it was a video. And then the guy who was on the camera, for some funny reason, he was pointing at a different person when the pianist was doing a solo. So I didn't get to see the face.
I hate that.
Yeah. But
Yes.
I would have loved
It's like,
to... Pardon?
no, I said lighting guys do that as well. They have the spotlight on the wrong soloist.
So I really wanted to see how he looked like, who he was and so forth, but I couldn't see him. But Tish, I've played with Tish at Haifa. Yeah. And I met him at your place. Yeah, he's a great pianist.
Yeah. No, he's great. So then when I went back to Zim after varsity, I found a piano teacher. This would have been in my mid-20s now, called Anne Beck, who was an absolute dragon. I mean, she was the most insulting teacher I think I've ever had.
Serious?
But she for some reason I connected with her, and I would discover a couple of friends of mine at the time also went to her
What
for
would
lessons.
trigger her to insult?
She would just think my playing's terrible, and I can't hear anything that you're saying. You know, you're not emoting. You know, she would just basically tell me that I'm terrible and I need to practice harder. And she would always go on about how her Asian students, you know, they did the homework. They wouldn't come to a lesson this ill-prepared. Oh, no, she was terrible. But I would discover from my mates that behind my back, she would say the nicest things about me.
Serious?
And I was like, yes. And I'm like, why does she never say that to my face? But it was very affirming. I don't know whether you've ever had that, but a third-hand sort of compliment actually is quite powerful, where you hear that someone's been saying nice things behind your back because you realize that they didn't necessarily mean for you to hear them. So they're not flattering you.
Okay.
Which is lovely. Anyway, so she took me right back to the basics. It was humbling. I'm like 26 years old and I'm playing grade 1 pieces now, which children play. And she was making me play them and read the music and make sure my fingering and the physiology of my hands actually changed over those 5 years because she made me work so hard. I would practice 5 hours a day. And then, but we got up to about grade 6 and then never did any of the exams because then I moved down to Johannesburg. Then I started with another lady in Johannesburg who was recommended to me by an artist I was producing, and Lorna Hayes. And I think that was her name. Anyway, she took me so I skipped grade 6 and grade 7 and just did the grade 8 exams. And so I got my grade 8 and I was quite proficient.
Oh, so you have a grade 8 in piano?
In classical piano.
Classical piano. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so that gave me my articulation, which of course, you know, if I don't practice, I lose. But it's nice to know that you could do it once upon a time. Well, I forget what the question was now, but is this my music education? So then once I'd done that, then I just started doing online stuff, and I realized that my productions, which is my main thing, remember, I'm a producer, then I'm a singer, then I'm a writer, then I'm a piano player. My productions weren't necessarily better when I was, you know, writing my grade 8 exams for piano. So I realized that, you know, technicality isn't what makes amazing music or moves the listener. Those are much more mysterious things, which having technical ability helps, but it's, you know, you can't lean on that any more than you can having an amazing Neumann UA whatever microphone. It's the singer that's going to move people, not your fancy microphone that you've got, you know.
I know when talking about equipment, there's always discussions and arguments about which one is the best music software, which one has got the best sound. But I always think it's mostly about the man behind the machine. Of course, equipment does matter, but the man behind the machine and the one behind the mic matters the most. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. The most helpful thing I've been given is that think of all of these things as 1%. So your mic, you know, ignoring the performers, you know, because that's obviously counts way more than than 1%. But everything else, your microphone, your pop filter, the clarity of the cable that connects the microphone to the preamp, the converter that goes from the preamp into the computer, all of those things are adding little bits at a time to make it better. If one of those is missing, you won't notice it. Instead of having 75%, you'll have 74%.
Yeah.
And no one, not even professionals, will be. I have the same thing with this. When I do stuff for Henry, he says, oh, please can you make sure you send it to me in 96K? I just think that's the most absurd thing, Mono, 96K. No one can hear the difference.
Yeah.
Even I sometimes forget I do it in 44.1K.
Yeah.
And people, because I do a lot of film, I've sort of forced myself to have my sessions.
I remember I had a
48K.
huge debate with another youngster the other time about those specifications. And he said, I'll come to your studio and prove it. And he came and we did the experiments with the higher resolution and the 44.1 16-bit, but we couldn't tell the difference. And he was saying, I know what, I'm going to come another day properly prepared. And I said, no one can tell the difference.
If I blindfolded that person and said, I'll give you 1,000 rand if you can tell the difference, and if you get it wrong, you give me 1,000 rand, I guarantee you they'll not want to do the experiment.
Yeah, they won't.
Because no one can tell the difference. And Henry and I are good friends. He'll laugh when he hears this. But he I guarantee you he can't tell the difference. And he's a big analog guy. Here's the funny thing. I've got my Avalon here. You can see it there. It's not plugged in, Mono. It gives me too much headaches. So I have the UAD soft version. And that one I can store presets. My voice is stored. My guitarist settings are stored in presets. I don't know. And the main reason I use it is because I can't tell the difference.
Yeah,
Let me tell you what I can tell the difference is when this thing's valve blows and I have an artist fly down from wherever they fly from to come and record vocals. We end 2 days of vocals and I'm thinking, this vocal sounds fuzzy. And it's because one of my valves has blown.
Yeah.
I don't get that with software. So these 1%, I agree. That's how you're going to end up sounding like Nashville and London and LA. And I wish with all my heart I was more passionate about gear. but I found gear that I can work with, and I realized that the thing that I need to spend the most time on is my ideas.
Yeah, that's very true. And talking of harsh teachers, I think the one who was a bit tougher for me, a bit not very tough, was Isaac Chirwa. Was he's the one who taught me about chord progressions, chord construction, and so
right.
forth. But
and he was a guitarist.
Yeah, he's a guitarist, bass player, and keyboardist. But the way he was tougher was during shows. Because there was a time when I was playing a lot for gospel musicians, and he was playing for Mechanic Mainyuruke. So I was still very young and inexperienced around the mid-90s. So at times I would go on stage, test my guitar, making a lot of noise, trying to play some solos. And he would take me aside and say, what was that all about? Are you supposed to do that? Was that necessary?
Yeah.
Just tune your guitar before you go on stage. When you go on stage, just plug it and play. So he was very tough on me when it comes to professionalism and all these small details which are very important.
Yes.
And the first time
important.
The first time he rebuked me, everybody thought I was going to get angry and retaliate, and everybody was surprised that I remained calm. And then I thanked him for that. And then after that, I would look for him during shows, or after the shows, and I'll ask him, how did I fare tonight? And he'll say, okay, that was okay,
Very
but
cool.
try to improve that and that. And then lastly, that's when he said, you know what? The first time I saw you, I thought you were so arrogant. But I've noticed that you have got a teachable spirit. So come to my house.
Yeah.
I want to teach you something. That's when he taught me about code construction and everything. So I benefited a lot from Mr. Isaac.
Yeah.
So big up Ndara Chirwa.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another way, which is one of the best ways to learn, which I think youngsters have they have so much access that we didn't have.
Yeah, we didn't
just
have all this
transcribing.
internet stuff.
Take a song that you like, search it on YouTube and find someone who's deconstructed it and learn all the parts. If you are a producer, reproduce your favorite songs down to the last little triangle note. Get it exactly right. I used to do that for Sting songs.
Yeah.
And that taught me so much about production, because I'd suddenly go, okay, this is how the guitars fit in, and this is what the bass is doing, and this is what the shaker's meant to do.
Yeah.
There's just so much you can learn from stuff that's there already.
Very true. Then, my last question. I know we've
Yes, I know what it's going to be.
Artificial intelligence.
I knew it. My new best friend.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
So my question is, because it's a huge topic these days, I think so far I've done over 5 interviews where I'm asked about artificial intelligence. And then some of the interviews, after the interviews, some of the people think I'm supporting AI too much, and some think I'm bashing AI. But I don't want to state my views at the moment, but I just want to ask you, are you using AI as a creative tool, a collaborative tool, or you are just instructing it to create something or prompting it? Which way are you using AI?
Yes. Well, first let me address your first comment. There is that I think the internet encourages tribalism. Okay. So we all want to have our little boxes, and this is the against AI camp, and this is the for AI camp.
Yeah.
So whatever you say, you're going to get these trolls commenting and saying what they say. I watched your participation in that U.S. Embassy debate, and I thought you did fantastic, and I thought there were some very interesting views.
Oh, thanks so much.
You're very articulate on the subject, and that actually informed some of my. I watch Rick Beato. I'm sure everyone knows who he is. And you listen to these talking heads. It's funny. I watched one yesterday about how it was something about AI and how it's changing songwriting forever or whatever. But the video was made by AI. It was an AI. You could see that it wasn't a person who was speaking to the camera. It was an AI generated thing, and the voice was AI. I was like,
and the punctuation. At times you can tell by the punctuation as well.
Yeah. So back to my views and my participation. I'm quite new to the whole thing, but I'm not new to using samples and slices of music. So I'm working on a current song. I won't tell you which one yet, because then people are going to know. But I'll take. I've got a recording. I'll find the recording that it reminds me of, and I'll go and I'll download that into Fader, strip out the drums, and then I'll take those drums and I'll chop them up and use, because I like the snare in that sound, and I use that. And this is the funny thing, Mono. It might be an MP3 that I get from Fader, but then I put it through my boxes and stuff, and I make it sound nice. No one's listening and going, like your friend who came to do the experiment, going, that snare sounds as an MP3 snare. It's not 96. No one's saying those things.
Yeah.
So I have a history of borrowing and spreading the net wide, and I just do whatever it takes until I get that feeling. Now, some of that feeling is, I've got my subscription to Suno. Suno has 100 million subscribers now. Can you believe
100 million subscribers?
That's just bonkers to me.
How much do you pay what period?
I think it's about $8 a month or whatever.
8.
So it's not, $8 a month, yeah. So, but you go in there. I love it as a tool. I'll sing in something and it gives me ideas. So this current track that I'm working on at the moment, I just play. I have the metronome going, so this is the weird thing is people go, oh, artificial intelligence, it's just robot form and it's computer. That's what music was like in the 90s that was made by computers.
Yeah,
artificial intelligence has got too much humanity in. There's pitch variances. The timing is a nightmare. I have to sort of lock it onto a grid if I import stuff because it's not robotic. So I definitely generate ideas. I just piano chords and vocal, and I'll give it different prompts, and it'll give me ideas of, oh, that's quite a nice idea. It's like having like 5 of my favorite producers in the world come into the studio and say, hey guys, here's a song that I'm doing. What would you suggest I do for a bass groove? or have the 5 best bass players in the world and go, what do you think I should do for a bass groove? And, you know, the reason, now here's an interesting thing. The reason I'm not using the bass stem that comes from Suno is because the quality is so terrible.
Yeah.
If the quality
guitar
was good,
qualities are still terrible.
Yeah.
Especially on
if
African
the quality
music.
gets better, yeah. If it gets better, will I use it? I don't know. That's a tough one, and I think we're a few years away from that. But I definitely this business of I'll end up with sort of 5 or 6 different versions of the song that I have I have a different session. So I have what I call an art session, because I like the artificial and it's art, which it's my sort of throwing paint at the wall. So I'll have a separate Logic session called my art session. So you and I are writing a song Delusional. So I'll have delusional.art. I'll put all these in there and I'll throw it around and I'll play and then I'll get ideas and then I'll go to the main session, Delusional main session, and then I start playing, referencing those ideas. And sometimes I take some of the stems if it's decent. They do a decent job of things like saxophone, or there's some sort of like nylon string guitar. Every now and again you'll get a nice phrase.
And AI is also doing very well on reggae music. It's sounding very original, yeah.
But the drums, I don't know. I was trying to get a non-musician to explain to me. Like I can hear immediately when I hear an AI song.
Even me, I can hear an AI song.
It's like a fizzy sound quality. I don't know why they do that. I wouldn't even know how to make. If you said to me, "Can you take my song? I'm doing a documentary and I want that 10 seconds to sound like it's made by AI." I wouldn't know what to do to make it sound like that, Mono.
Yeah.
I don't know how they accomplish it. It's bizarre. So, to me, it's a tool. I feel hugely privileged to live in a time where I can access a resource like that. Because musically, sometimes it thinks of things that that haven't even popped in my mind. But I know if I went to Nashville for the weekend and sat in a few sessions, then I would come back home and I would have more ideas. That's what AI is doing to me. So I enjoy it. I do worry. You know, we had a job the other day, SABC job, and we used the vocalist we were going to use was Lloyd Cele, and we had his vocal from a previous job, and we submitted, and they said they didn't like it. They wanted something more modern, and by this stage we'd run out of budget and stuff. So I just sang it into Suno and said, give me a nice, female vocal. We submitted that and they loved that.
Oh,
and I was like,
nice.
This is a tricky thing because now we're disenfranchised. We're putting a human singer out of work, but it's driven. You see, it's driven by the broadcasters. It's driven by the listeners. This is going to be the hurdle that producers have to get their minds round. My producer friends and songwriter friends are very much split on this. Half of them are, it's a tool, have at it. Let's see what we come up with. And the other half are, it's the devil, you're killing human creativity.
Yeah, it's a very divisive topic these days. And then
very polarized.
Yeah, and then one thing that I would like to know as well, I remember you and I did a song some months ago. I think that's when you came to Zimbabwe, I don't remember. And you said there was an acoustic guitar on the song, which you said you used AI. Did you first play it on the keyboard and then turned it into acoustic? What did you do?
That's your classic case. For that song I just played, I had the artist's vocal stem. I played just block chords, no giving away any of my style. And then and I had the metronome, so we'd get the timing right. Stuck it in, and I said, make this sound sort of Nashville acoustic.
Okay.
And
so
and
you are the one who
here's
played
the thing.
it.
No, that's well. I fed. So I
mean, you played it, and then on the keyboard, and then you told AI to turn it into an acoustic. That's it.
Into an acoustic guitar? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So. Very rarely do I. So when I import that, it's often only the intros that seem to work because the sound quality when it's just so in an intro, typically the song will start with just an acoustic guitar and then it sounds quite good. It's when they start layering it that these instruments start to sound weird. So that's the only part of the song where I used it. The rest of it is all you.
Okay. And so which means you are using AI as a creative tool and collaborative tool.
Yes.
And I think those who are prompting AI to create songs are not composers. I don't think there's any composer who would want AI to create a song for them when they can do it themselves.
No, I disagree with that because I've done that. I did a Christmas album with someone last year, and we were. She doesn't pay me to write songs, so I was like, what the heck? I said let's. So I put in the title of the song. I said I wanted something African. We don't have the idea behind the album was we don't have many Christmas songs that are for the African space.
Yeah,
it's sunny, it's warm, it's on the African continent. We celebrate in different ways. We don't want I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas, chestnuts roasting by the fire. We don't even, does any African know what a chestnut is? I haven't even eaten one.
Yeah, I don't even know it.
So we wanted a Christmas song. So I just typed in the prompt, give me something that sounds like Mango Groove. I thought, well, I wonder if it'll know what Mango Groove. It created the song Mono in seconds that I loved. I took the stems, I replayed all the instruments, but about 80% of that composition is Suno.
But you replayed the instruments.
I replayed all the instruments, yeah, because those were terrible. But and then I think some of the gang vocals were quite. I think I kept some of those, but then again, I got in a bunch of vocalists and we added to it. It's just not at the place where you can just output. Well, certainly if you're wanting to output sort of a higher quality product, to use the stems that Suno. I don't know any of the other. Apparently, Google's created one, which I'm told is better quality, but it's you have to play around with the stems to make them sound good. But generally, I'm very grateful for the fact that I'm just lacking in ideas. So if you give me a sound, I can recreate it. That's part of my job making trailers for these London studios. Is they'll give me an Ed Sheeran song, Beyonce song, whatever, and they'll go, we want something like this, but not copyright dodgy. So I'll rewrite something. And I'll copy the instruments, but just give different grooves, put in a different key, different lyrics, different melody. It's copyright great. But if I played it to you, you'll go, this reminds me of Beyonce's song Halo. And then I'm like, score. Because that's what they pay me the money for. They want that feeling when they put it on their trailer. But I've got to be respectful of who was it? Ryan Tedder wrote that song Halo. I don't want to be stomping on his ground and taking his money because the studio is too cheap to use his song or Beyonce's song.
And then my last question, still on AI.
Yes.
There's a radio station called iHeartRadio in the United States. They've banned 100% AI songs. In Sweden, their most popular song from AI was a song called I Know You're Not Mine. It had generated millions of views, and then they noticed that it was AI generated and they removed it from air. In South Korea, they've put a law where AI music is not supposed to get royalties. At the Grammys, they are not giving any awards to music that is created 100% on AI. But all these people are saying, if you use AI as a creative tool, your song will be accepted, you can get your royalties, you can get ownership. But if it's 100% a prompt where you just type what you want, it means you don't own it, it's in the public domain, it doesn't get awards. And I'm also campaigning for that here in Zimbabwe.
Many artists argue that music created entirely by AI should not compete with human compositions for airplay, awards and royalties.
According to the laws that I've researched around the world, if you use AI as a collaborative tool or as a creative tool, you own the song 100%. But the problem comes when you just prompt AI to do everything for you. My proposal is that music created by AI should not be played on national radio. It must not get awards.
The concerns are shared by some industry promoters who say AI is already disrupting the local music ecosystem and forcing broadcasters to rethink what belongs on mainstream platforms.
What's your view on that?
I agree with it, Mono. I just 100% agree. I think Elon Musk said this the other day. He was, he's had this battle with who's the ChatGPT guy?
I don't remember.
They've had a big bust up because Elon Musk started ChatGPT, but the guy who owns it now, it's no longer non-profit and all the rest of it. But it was either him or one of the Google guys, when they were asked about a world of AI versus human, Elon was like, yeah, I'm pro-human. Do we even need to ask that question? and I've always laughed at that because, of course, we should be pro-human. Even and when it comes to the sort of AI music discussion, we must be wanting to put humans first. From a legislative point of view, from a setting up structures, royalties, all of these awards, all of these kinds of things. The problem comes in how you police it. So this Home for the Holiday song that I wrote, it's essentially the inspiration from it came from AI. If I played you what it sent me, 20 seconds after I typed in the prompt, compared to the final product, you'd say two things. You'd say the final version is much better quality, but the original version, the melody and the lyrics sound very, very close. So that's why I say about 75% of that was written by Suno. Now, if that got nominated for a Grammy, how would they be able to tell that it was written by Suno?
They now have
75%
AI
and 25% by me.
They now have AI detectors.
But there's no AI in the final product. It's just the only thing that's in there is the idea. You see, how do you legislate ideas? It becomes a little bit 1984, that George Orwell thing.
Yeah.
We have to be careful legislating. Like, for instance, you can't legislate peace.
Yeah.
Because if you want complete peace, then you have to legislate complete control.
Then you are called a dictator.
Yeah, exactly. And we hope that it's a benevolent dictator, and that works until the benevolent dictator dies, and then their son takes over who isn't benevolent. I mean, that's the history of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
And just about all empires. In music, we have to be careful what we set up. Because we don't want it to come back and bite us. The broadcasters have a big role. I think I like what you're saying, that they're refusing to play stuff, because the less platform you give it, the less creators will be wanting to output for it. There's an interesting interview of the guy who started Suno, and he's trying to capitalize on how, as movies are to computer games, he wants to make music to Suno. Which it took my mind a little bit time to work out what is actually meanings. But you'll have to just check out the interview and put the link in the comments. But it's I don't get it. When I saw his interview about Suno, it made me way less interested in Suno listening to him than I am when I actually just go and fiddle around in Suno and go, this is amazing. How do they get, like as you say, the reggae ideas? We did a jingle last year for a Cape Town company, and we put in some ideas. Interestingly, we'd written their original theme, so we put that in, and it said, "No, you can't use that because it's copyright protected." I'm like, I'm the copyright owner. Anyway, Suno wouldn't hear of it, so we just had to put the chords in and say, "Give us some reggae ideas." Again, it was so useful. Did I use any of the stems in the final thing? Hardly. I don't think I used any.
Also, you just used it for ideation, for creating ideas.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. Yeah, ideation. I like that. Yeah. So, but I just don't know how you would police it. That's my problem. And policing, as we know, there's a dark side to policing. So, and I listened to this AI created interview that I listened to yesterday. They were talking about this, that the Suno's been sued left, right, and centre by artists, saying you need to make your upload facility much more selective so that people can't upload a song that's already copywritten. But now that they've put that in place, when people are uploading an original idea, it's striking those as well and making mistakes, going, this idea's already been taken, but it hasn't.
Just like what
college
professors use when they are marking exams, marking dissertations and academic essays.
Yes,
there's a software
with
that they
ChatGPT,
use.
100%.
There is a software that they use. It was called 1018. I think it's called 1018. And many times you create your own ideas, and then it will tell you this is not original, and you wonder, but I'm the one who wrote it.
My niece had this happen to her, Mono. She handed in an assignment, and she got given zero because they said she'd used ChatGPT, and she hadn't.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the computer check, whatever the teacher was using to see if this person's used ChatGPT to do their homework, gave it a tick and said, yes,
you know what?
she has.
Still on that point, in 2024, I went to Jamaica. I was sponsored by the Ministry of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture.
Yeah.
And
wow.
When I came back...
That must have been fabulous.
Yeah, it was great. I learned a lot. I was in their studios. They've got small studios like us, and it was interesting, very eye-opening. And I did a lot of video essays and speeches so that I give back to my to my people so that they also learn what I learned there. But what I wanted to say is...
I'd be interested in hearing those.
I was then asked to write a report back about what I experienced. So on the flight, it's a very long flight from... was flying, I think, from Brazil to I've forgotten.
Johannesburg it would be, huh?
No, it wasn't Joburg.
Or Dakar.
We went via Dubai, I think. Yeah, via Dubai. It was a very long flight.
Okay.
So I wrote a very long essay. To cut it in two was the one I gave it to the ministry, and the other one was published by the Herald newspaper. And this guy who doesn't like me took my article, and he says he put it in a AI checker or AI detector software. I don't know what it is. And he was saying everything was written by AI. Mono didn't write anything. So I was surprised. On the other hand, I was happy that I wrote something so nice to the extent that somebody thought it was AI.
Yes, that's a lovely spin on your story. I like that. So that illustrates my point of over policing can backfire perfectly.
Because you end up prohibiting something that's very original.
Yeah, because I can foresee in the near future someone being denied a Grammy because someone's check has said this is not a real singer. And they're going, I'm the singer, or I'm the writer. I produced this with human thing. And you're saying it's AI, and it's not. And it would be, maybe there's ways of proving it, hopefully. I'm not very good with legislation, so my brain doesn't think in that way. But I've got, Mabel Sitoli, I must actually raise this whole thing with her, because she's very much in the space of legislation within Africa.
She's a South African.
She's Zimbabwean.
Oh, okay.
But she works for the UN and all of these big NGOs. But I must find out from her what the plans are in terms of setting legislation for these things.
Yeah. So far,
that's the thing that we can't deny, Mono, is it's coming down the railway tracks. Whether whether the tribalist internet people agree with it or disagree with it, it's going to come. It's the same as
the train has left the station.
History's proven this. Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's the
train has left the station already. We cannot stop it.
And a lot of people will get left behind, as have been in the past. I think it will make a lot of opportunities for all kinds of people, including people who are currently in that space.
Yeah, true.
I can get a lot more work done by making use of these tools. At the same time, it slows me down because now I've gotten these 5 ideas. I'm thinking, Let me do 5 more.
Suffering from indecision.
and I'm usually very, very clear on my ideas in the studio, but now I'm getting, so this actually happened on a song I was doing this last week, and eventually I just muted all of the stuff that I would be, all of this noise, because I'd gotten what I wanted, and I thought, okay, let me just play. And immediately I started hearing the strength of my ideas and why I love music, and reminding myself of why I'm in this business and all of those things. I'm not worried about it taking my job, that's for sure.
Yeah, even me, I'm not worried about that. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But I got in trouble when I mentioned that train analogy, when I said, you know what, there's nothing we can do to stop AI. No matter how much we argue, no matter how much we insult, no matter the train has left the station, and the people from Radio Zimbabwe calling right on the show saying, what is Mono saying? Saying a lot of rubbish. Blah, blah. He wants us to listen to synthetic music. And I said, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's here to stay, so we need to adapt.
Yes.
All we need to do is put regulations so that non-musicians, non-composers end up getting all the royalties from our collective societies. Because airplay is employment. You see? So you can't compete with a machine for that. That's all I always say.
It's the only way that songwriters can make money is radio and television airplay.
Yeah. So we can't compete with machines. That was only my point. That's when I also gave the WWE wrestling analogy, saying that it's fake entertainment, but there's an audience for it.
I love that.
But they cannot go to the Olympics.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have the best analogies, Mono. You need to write a coffee table book of
Thanks
monoisms.
Monoism, that's a nice title.
the original monoisms.
Yeah. That's a beautiful title. Anyway, I've taken 2 hours of your time.
No, Mono, it's been absolutely fabulous. This is a long time coming. We must do it again once we have all of the hate comments. We'll address all of those in a second podcast.
We must do part 2. We must do part 2.
But life's too short.
Yeah, life is very short. Especially when you get to your 50s, that's when you realize life is very short.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we are now in our 50s. We are now old.
But I want to say, Mono, my musical world is so much more, actually, and my philosophical world is so much richer because of our friendship. I'm a huge admirer of yours. I love how outspoken you are.
It's mutual.
I think you're an outlier in so many ways, and I always wish wonderful success for you.
Thanks so much. It's mutual, because even my entry into music production was after I watched you produce Tambira Jehovah. That's when I said to myself, I will say to myself, if I get into music production...
I want my royalties now, please. Where's my production royalties?
I'm going to give you some royalties, because you are the one who inspired me to get into music production. And I also loved your attention to detail. That's one thing that I noticed.
Yeah. I'm very obsessed with details, unfortunately, which makes me... That's why Tuku said I'm a control freak.
Yeah. Maybe you didn't even notice that you were being a control freak.
No,
I think
I wouldn't even notice. No, everyone tells me, even in non-musical settings, people say, stop trying to control everything. I like things a certain way.
Tuko was always talking about the chord chart. He was saying the guy was so strict on his chord chart.
I wish I could remember all the details of that session.
Yeah, anyways. You know me, I write things down so I don't forget easily. That's why I remember all my dates and everything.
You're very good like that. I can't believe that you could find out the day of our first recording. That's just fabulous.
Yeah, I write my dates down, and you know me, I'm obsessed with documentation. I'm obsessed with timekeeping. I always want to be on time,
on time. You're very good at it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's a very good quality.
Yeah, so everybody knows that if they call me, if I say I'm coming, I do come, and I come straight on the dot. If it's 10 a.m., I'll be there right on time. Those are some of my principles. Yeah.
That's an important principle.
Yeah. Anyway.
Nice one, Mono. This has been absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much.
Sure, we had fun. This is going to be my longest podcast ever.
Oh, You'll have to edit out all of the boring stuff that I've said.
No, I don't edit anything. We have to keep it as natural as possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thanks so much.